Filmmaker Chuck Russell died unexpectedly at his home near San Diego on July 22, 2026. No cause had been publicly established when this film was researched. The headlines list the movies, but a filmography tells us what someone made, not what kept moving after the credits. A director makes thousands of choices inside a machine built by thousands of other people. Most choices disappear into the finished picture. A few become opportunities, techniques, or ideas that other people carry forward.
Russell understood that machine from below. Before directing features, he worked in production, assistant direction, writing, and producing. His path to the chair did not begin with a studio invitation. It began with a monster nobody else was chasing.
Russell later recalled securing temporary rights to remake The Blob and writing it with Frank Darabont. New Line said no, but the studio needed a fresh approach to the third Nightmare on Elm Street. One rejected project opened a door into another.
The result was not one man's invention. Wes Craven and Bruce Wagner had written an earlier draft. Russell and Darabont reshaped it. The crucial turn was to make the hunted teenagers an ensemble whose dream identities gave them ways to fight back. Horror victims became collaborators.
The film earned about $44.8 million in the United States. It also gave Patricia Arquette her feature film debut. That does not mean Russell created her career. It means one production placed a new performer inside a widely seen role, and audiences carried the recognition onward.
The larger lesson was practical. A sequel did not have to repeat the previous film more loudly. It could change who held power inside the story. That creative risk helped turn a third installment into a new point of reference for the franchise.
Then Russell returned to the monster that had been rejected. The Blob was reported to cost between $15 and nearly $20 million. Its domestic box office was only about $8.25 million. By the ordinary release week measure, the gamble failed.
Yet, the creature had to exist in front of performers. Translucent materials, puppets, makeup, miniatures, optical work, and crews solving one physical problem after another. Russell said full-scale effects created an energy from actors that green screens rarely produced. The object changed the performance around it.
Commercial failure did not end the film's life. New restorations, collector editions, and a 2026 theatrical screening with effects artist Tony Gardner show a second economy of attention, rediscovery. Box office measures an opening. It cannot measure every future audience.
The Mask required the opposite translation. Its source comic was dark and violent. Russell pushed toward comedy and built the visual effects around Jim Carrey's physical imagination. Carrey performed the impossible shape first. The digital artists extended it.
There was another risk in the room. Cameron Diaz had never acted in a feature. Russell said he campaigned for her because the chemistry between Diaz and Carrey was undeniable. Technology attracted attention, but a new actor's first opportunity became part of the same bet.
Industrial Light and Magic describes the production as the first attempt to bring Tex Avery-like three-dimensional animation into live action. The tools were primitive by today's standards. Artists had to stretch and contract digital volume, preserve motion blur, and keep Carrey recognizably present instead of replacing him.
The effects received an Academy Award nomination. The film earned roughly $352 million worldwide. In one release, an untested lead actress, an emerging comedy star, and an emerging digital language all received a global demonstration.
It would be too simple to say The Mask caused modern performance-driven effects. Many studios and artists were advancing the craft at once. But it remains a clear early proof that computer graphics could amplify an actor's style rather than erase it.
8 years later, the experiment was industrial rather than technical. Dwayne Johnson was already famous in wrestling, but the Scorpion King was his first feature lead. WWE said it had an active role in production and creative development. Guinness records a then unprecedented $5.5 million salary for a debut starring role.
The film opened to about $36 million domestically and crossed $165 million worldwide in major trackers. The wager was not simply on a character. It tested whether charisma built in one entertainment system could carry a different one.
Johnson's later career belongs to Johnson, and the film involved Universal, WWE, producers, writers, actors, and a pre-existing franchise. Russell did not manufacture a global icon. He directed the first full-length test of that possibility.
Now the four films connect. A rejected pitch leads to a franchise rewrite. A physical creature creates a different kind of performance. A comedian's movement becomes digital volume. A wrestling persona is tested as a movie lead. In each case, direction means translation.
The outcomes were not equal. One film failed at the box office. One revived the series. One became a global hit. One opened a new career lane. Influence is not the same as success. And success is not the same as authorship.
A month before his death, Russell said he was thrilled that new audiences kept discovering films reaching back to dream warriors. That may be the most measurable form of an afterlife. Not permanent fame, but another viewer, another craftsperson, or another performer finding a possibility in old work.
When the credits roll, the director's name appears alone on one line. The influence does not. It leads through actors, effects artists, writers, studios, and audiences, changing shape as it travels. Chuck Russell's hidden legacy is not four titles. It is what other people were able to do after them.